And a lot of my teachers will bring me in because that's my hometown, and they'll tell me, what do you know about Helen Keller? Well, I said, well, all I know is I know where her house is. I've been through it a bunch of times. And I said, I know the well. I seen the well where she signed the water into the hand of Ann Sullivan. I said, I do remember that. I do know that they were ashamed of her. And we have a festival every year. The Helen Keller Festival. So anyway, talking about sign language, that's the thing. That's the joke back home, and I know this is probably crude, but the joke back home, and our whole family, everything was like, if somebody couldn't hear you or say something, they'd say, Helen. Y'all get that, right? Y'all get it tomorrow. So in our home, our home, and our children, that and other, we're all like, if somebody else say something, and I can't get hard of hearing. I can't hear very well now, and they'll say something, and my kids look at me and go, Helen. And then if I can't hear them the second time, they go, Helen. But anyway, that was a joke back home. And there's no joke for people with hearing impairment. But anyway, that Saul or that Barnabas. I hope in the break and between the first session that you decided who you are in life. Are you that Saul? Or are you that Barnabas? Are you the one who encourages? Do you need to start encouraging more? Or do you need to be encouraged? That's the question. Every time I look down and breathe, y'all hear that? I heard that a while ago. I was like, that's my breath blowing into this thing. The other night we was at camp, and Edward Anderson, y'all know him, he was preaching, or he was speaking at camp, and he had quoted about Willie Nelson. Was it Willie Nelson or Waylon Jennings? Willie Nelson. He had about a song he had wrote, and he used it in his sermon, and we had a speaker set up, and me and Jeremy Hasler was sitting there together, and he started something about Willie Nelson in the song, and he's dead and gone, or I don't know, I can't remember. Anyway, this noise come across the speaker. I looked at Jeremy, and Jeremy looked at me, and we didn't say much. He started talking about Willie again, and here come that noise again. I looked at Jeremy, I said, Willie's speaking to us. Well, he got a little tickle. We was on the front row. Brother Edward, after the lesson, he said, what was you boys laughing about down there on the front row? I said, well, Brother Edward, I said, we thought Willie was coming through the speakers when you were talking. What do you mean? I said, he can't hear it thunder. And he said, well, I didn't hear nothing. He said, I knew something was going on. But he said, because you and Jeremy was down there looking at one another. But anyway, we thought it was Willie speaking to us. I told you at the end, you've seen 3 or 4 pictures there at the end about a young boy. I was going to tell you about a young boy who lived in that house, who slept in that ditch. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that young boy was me, if you hadn't figured it out yet. That young boy that I've told you about in those pictures was me. I slept in that ditch. A lot of times my students, especially when I was teaching high school, my kids, I would say, well, I slept in a ditch. And they say, Coach Scoggins, ain't no way you slept in a ditch. Yeah, sure did. Me and my mama. Used to be a bush where y'all seen that power pole and all that. Used to be a bush there. My dad would get drunk. My dad was an alcoholic. And he would get drunk. He'd come in violently. Me and my mother would run out of the house. We'd get under the bush, cover up with a blanket, and stay all night till he passed out, or until the police come and got him, or till in the morning. Didn't matter, just whatever come first. So therefore, that was me. I lived in that house that you've seen in the last part. So the second part is the thought there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I want to bring something out. Everybody's been wondering. There went my breath again. Yeah. Old mirror. Now I want you to keep thinking about this mirror. Okay, I want you to look at it. And it's pretty nasty looking, dusty looking. Can you see yourself? I can't get over there and see. You can't see yourself? Can you not? Can you now? Can you see yourself now? Which way I need to go? Oh, okay, now you can see, okay. Well, that's the same place I had it 30 seconds ago. What's wrong with you people? Y'all are lopsided. Can you see yourself now? Are you sure? You're not sure? You can see them? Can you see yourself? Oh, now we're... All right, now we're cooking with oil. The old mirror, you see the reflection, doesn't it? Now this mirror is going to be significant as we go through this and at the end of my presentation. But I want to do something real quick. Now I told you if you had your phones, have them ready. Not right now. I don't want them out right now. If I had my way, I'd throw cell phones away every Sunday. They're good for a lot of things, but they're temptations too. But I want you to bring them out when I tell you to. Well, Tim, you got your phone with you? All right, I want you to kill the lights just for a second. Okay. Oh, whoever got that one. Thank you, Willie. Willie got that one. All right, brother, Tim, I want you to turn your phone on and shine it towards this. Y'all tell me if you can see it. Can you see it? Nah, not your phone there, dude. Can you see that? Okay. All right, now, Brother Tim, I want you to take and go all the way back to the back. Back up, back up. Can you still see it? Can you still, is it getting smaller? No? Can you still see it, though? Okay, is it getting weaker a little bit? Hey, I got to talk to me. We're in the dark, okay? Can you still see the light? Okay. All right, I want you to keep that mental image, what it looks like. I can't see it. I don't care how hard I try, I can't see it. I want you to keep that mental image, okay? Thanks, Brother Tim. You can turn that off and turn the lights back on for us. Everybody got that in your mind, right? Thanks, Willie. I don't know who's controlling that live, but thank you. But anyway, I want you to keep that in your mind, that mental image, okay? And this is going to be significant in just a little bit. All right, it won't be long. A full circle. I'm going to share a story with you today about a young man, and that young man was me, okay? This young man was me. And this is a story that I share a lot of times in schools and this, that, and other, and to all the student body and those things. But this story can motivate you and challenge you. And I'm going to go, there's a lot of slides here, so I'm going to go through it pretty quickly to help us on time and those things. And when I go to Freed-Hardeman, I usually get about 50 minutes, and that's about what I got now. So I just remember, was we supposed to sing again? Did I like jump the gun? Okay, all right, well, I'm sorry. You put me with a clicker and a microphone, I'm ready to go. What do you see right here? A road sign, right? Has Harris Road on it, Harris Lane or Drive or something. All right, that's just a road sign to you, right? There's a lot of memories on 111 Harris Road. A lot of memories for me. What do you see? A door. What's inside there? A what? Did somebody say closet? Okay, thank you. A what? A monster. You have your eyes checked, Travis. You know what that is to me? That was my hiding place. That's where I would go hide, in that closet. What do you see? Stairs and steps. You know what that means to me? That means a drunk daddy fell down them, cracked his skull, could no longer smell because he affected that part of the brain, laid in a puddle of blood, and I found him. And I was in 6th grade, 7th grade, I think. Okay, oh, what's that? That's my bed. That's my bedroom. Several, many nights, that was my bedroom. Just like I said, it used to be a big bush there, and you could crawl under it, and it kind of protects you from the dew and the rain and whatever. This is all on 111 Harris Road. Now that wasn't the actual house. When I was first born, house number 1 and house number 2, there was a mobile home to the left and a mobile home to the right of where, now I want you to count how many houses I lived in, okay? Can y'all do that for me? So far, what have you seen? 2. You've seen 2 houses, okay? That's not the houses, they were there, mobile homes lived there. One burned, the other one was repoed. I don't know what all with it. House number 3, when the house burned, I lived with my grandfather. He was a gospel preacher. He was a Barnabas in my life, and he helped encourage me to preach. He helped encourage me to stay on the right road. House number 4 was back again to that same little spot. There was a mobile home. All right. This house here, my memory that I have, and I'm going to go through this pretty quick, but the memory I have here is a car with one headlight. It's been crashed. It's smoking. It's the middle of the night. I'm standing in the door, and my dad comes in and says, "I've had a wreck. The law's after me." And I follow him down the hallway. He pulls both pillows out of both pillowcases, puts all his clothes in 2 pillowcases, walks out the door and leaves, and we don't see him for 6 months. That's my memory when I see that spot. Now, you just see a bunch of grass. But there's a house there. I can see myself still standing in the door in the middle of the night and seeing that happen in my. I was in kindergarten at that age, 5 years old, 4 years old. I went to Little Red Hen kindergarten. So what happens? Oh, police is after me. He calls us after 6 months. My mama puts me on house number 5 now. We're going to Port Isabel, Texas, okay, from Alabama, from the northern part of Alabama. We get on a Greyhound bus. We drive to Port Isabel, Texas, just me and my mama. I didn't have no brothers or sisters, just me and my mama. We go to Port Isabel, Texas to a motel room to where he's run from the law, come to me, stay, and we're there. He works on a ship. We're running from the police. Eventually, my mother says, "Matthew's going into 1st grade. I'm going back to Alabama with you or without you." He said, "Okay, I'll go back with you, but we're going to leave our hometown and we're going to go to another town and still run from the police." So, oops, I went the wrong way or something. Or we come back to this house for just a few days and gathered up our clothes, took off to Huntsville, Alabama, house number 6. All this was in just a few months. We're in Huntsville, Alabama, running from the police. House number 7. We're in an apartment complex, government owned. We're very little rent. Now you see an apartment there. It's kind of hard to see for the shades of the tree, but you see an apartment there. But see, when I see that, I see everything else. I see the night that my dad come in drunk and he went to the bedroom and he called me and my mother in the bedroom and he said, "Shut the door." Well, I'm in 1st grade, so we shut the door. He pulls out a butcher knife and he slits both wrists. Blood goes everywhere. We go out of the house running and screaming and hollering into a neighbor's house, spends the night there. He locks himself into the bathroom. Paramedics come in, bust the door down, take him to the hospital, and he survives again. All because of alcohol. Okay, all this is because of alcohol. House number 8. Oh, we're still running from the police, remember? Okay, we're still running from the police. So yeah, because when you run from the police, you have to move from house to house to house to house because they eventually catch up with you. So anytime we felt like that they was catching up with us, we'd move to another house. So we're in house number 8. And what do I remember? Oh, my grandfather, my mom gets sick. My mom's a type 1 diabetic. She's in the hospital all the time, back and forth. My dad, and that was a golden time for him to go and get drunk. And let me say this in the very forefront. I love my dad. And people always say, "Well, he's still alive." Well, yeah, he's still alive. He's 72 years old. Just put him in a nursing home. Do you still love him? Yes. But he's my daddy. But I share all this to help you not make choices to be a Barnabas, to help kids not have to live the way I lived. And you can do that, because I'm going to share some things with you to help you with that. In this house, the police does catch up with us. They come in the middle of the night, And they drag him down the hallway in cuffs, kicking and screaming and hollering. And I'm standing at my door of my bedroom, and please don't take my daddy. House number, that was 8, I think. First grade, West Huntsville, Alabama. There are Barnabases in my life here. There was a teacher in first grade. I don't remember her name. I wish I could, so I could go back to her and tell her how much I loved her and appreciated her, because she made me feel so special. Because whether you believe it or not, I was a prince. And I still have, I wish I'd have brought my trophy, Mama. I still have my little trophy. I usually take it wherever I'm speaking. I take my little trophies with me. But there was a teacher in West Huntsville Elementary, and you had to be something. I don't know what I was, but I was something, because she gave me a trophy, and she said, "You're the prince of West Huntsville Elementary School." I'm like, well, first time I'd ever been a prince. So I still have the pearl trophy to prove it. It's about that tall. I was so proud of that trophy. That teacher made me feel so wanted, so loved, because my other environment wasn't that good. Those are the railroad tracks I walked up in first grade to go to school every day. We didn't have a car, because when you have a drunk daddy, there's always running from the police and this other. You can't have a car because you have a registration, and they can take and find you because of what your address is. So therefore, you don't have transportation. You just go and do the best you can. So my mother, you can see that truck down there, my mother would have walked me that far, and I would walk the rest of the way this way up to the school, which run right by the school, and I'd jump off the tracks and go to school every day because she could not get me there. She would walk back home. I would get on the tracks every day at the end of school. I would look down there to see if my mama was there. My mama was a Barnabas. She was secure. She was always there. And every time I can remember how safe I felt when I got on those railroad tracks and could see my mama. I get teary-eyed sometimes when I think about that. I can still see her standing there. That was a jail that I showed you a while ago. My Sundays in the South were visiting from 2 to 4 in Colbert County, Alabama, Tuscumbia, Alabama, sheriff, the county jail. I would ride an elevator up to see my dad and to look through a little square, a little triangle, whatever, hole darkly lit, to visit with him and say, "Dad, I love you, I miss you, I wish you'd come home." But he wasn't coming home no anytime soon. House number 9. Looks like a pretty good house, doesn't it? That was my grandfather's house again. He was a gospel preacher. That was the preacher's house. Brother Tim, where you? Well, wouldn't it be nice to have a preacher's house like this? Yeah. That was a mansion, buddy. I had so many rooms in it, I could just run and play all day. I don't care how many cowboys and Indians I shot. And that column on the front porch on the very end, on this very end, had a column of bees. They robbed it for honey every year. Couldn't get rid of them. They didn't want to get rid of them because they had honey. I was burned severely in this house in first grade on an accident from a hot water heater. I just throw this in. Just throw it in. But I was burned for over half of my body with third-degree burns. I laid in Huntsville, Alabama's burn unit under an oxygen tent for weeks and weeks and weeks till they got me back where I could walk again. Hot water heater malfunctioned. Second grade, I'm living in that house, going to this school, Hatton Elementary, and this is where it was not a Barnabas. You know, I'm 50, I just turned 50 years old. A lot of things happen when you turn 50 years old. But there was not a Barnabas in this school. I had a school teacher here. Her name was Miss Osborne, and that was in my 40s till I could ever forgive the lady, truly. Santa Claus came to the playground one day on a helicopter. I wanted to go see Santa Claus because I didn't get to go to the store and see him, and I wanted to go see Santa Claus. So we was doing reading, and the teacher says, "Oh, you had the red birds, blue birds, and the black birds. Guess what group I was in?" What do you want to think? Red birds are pretty, blue birds are prettier, black birds are not as pretty. I was in the blackbirds because I couldn't read. So the blackbird group was only made up of 1 or 2 kids, and I was always in that group. So red birds went first, blue birds went second. They went to see Santa Claus. Blackbirds had to come up and read, and they was all getting to see Santa Claus on the playground. And the other blackbird, he done better than I did that day, and he got to go on and come to me. She said, "Read these words." I couldn't read it. I'd been to 100 different schools. Nothing was stable. So anyway, she says, now notice this. Any school teachers in here? Yeah, all right, be careful. Y'all know this. What you say will go with these children the rest of their life. I'm 50 years old, and it took me till I was in my 40s to forgive this woman. Truly forgive her. She looked at me and she said, you'll never read anyway. You'll never read. Go on and go see Santa Claus. Oh, I was happy. She let me off the hook, buddy. I was gone. I was going to see Santa. Got to the end of the door, busted through the doors, and there Santa went flying away on the helicopter, and I didn't get to tell him what I wanted for Christmas because she kept me in there too long. She was not a Barnabas. On the playground, the same school, I was always chosen last because I didn't have the same clothes everybody did, didn't act like they did, and rode the bus, and everybody knew my dad was an alcoholic. Everybody knew that we had no transportation. Everybody knew who I was. I was always chosen last. That's why he's playing football. They wanted a good blocker. I was always big. House number 10, moved in with these folks. This was my mama's friend or something. I don't know. I can't even remember a whole lot about that house. But that was house number 10. House number 11, right next to Leeton Elementary School, which you're going to see in just a minute. Lived in that house for some time. What I see, and what I remember when I see this house, is a big banner above that door you see right there, welcome home, Daddy. He's getting out of jail at 12:01, went to pick him up, and another county had a hold on him. I went home, pulled the banner off the door that said, welcome home, Daddy, love you. Ripped it up into pieces. I was so angry. I began to get angry at the world. That's the door. Right above it. It's kind of hard to see. And the good thing about all these pictures is my 3 children that are here today got to go with me and see every house that I lived in. And they got to look at the bathrooms, and I was like, hey, you live in this house? With 1 bathroom? I mean, in our house, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 bathrooms in our house, 1 downstairs, 3 upstairs. Everybody's got their own, and you don't have to share nothing. A whole lot. And it was really amazing for them to go with me and see where I lived and what I lived in. House number 12. Oh, this is a good one. You'll get a kick out of this one. Up on the top there was in Leeton, Alabama. Lived in that house above, one below. Anybody ever go to work with their daddy? Anybody ever been to work? Yeah, I went to work with my daddy. I bet you ain't got a story like I got. We go to this house on the bottom left, and he says, oh, I want you to keep scraping on the front porch there, scrape off the old paint. We're going to paint it. He said, I'm going to go get paint. I'll be back just in a few minutes. Now, mind you, I was in 2nd grade. 2nd or 3rd grade. Bless you. About 5 o'clock that afternoon, he comes back. I sat there and scraped, ate my lunch, had a little food, ate what I had. He come back about 5 o'clock, drunk, fell out of the car, got up on the ladder trying to paint. I'm like, you're in no shape to paint. I'm 2nd grade now. I said, how old are you in 2nd grade? 7 or 8. I was like, you can't do that. So I get him in the car. I said, let's go home. So I get him in the car. We're going down a 4-lane highway. Highway 72 runs from Huntsville, Alabama, all the way through to Mississippi, Iuka, Mississippi. Going down a 4-lane highway. We get to Arnold truck stop. He decides he wants to pass out. Driving down a 4-lane highway. Guess what I do? I jump over, lay the seat back, let him fall on back. I jump in his lap, sit in his lap, and drive us home. People going by, and I'm waving at them. They're like, you see that kid driving a car? They couldn't see my daddy. They just see me sitting up there driving. My feet had a hard time getting to the pedals, the brake pedal and the gas pedal. So when I get home to this house at the top right, I can't get it stopped quick enough, and I run into the wall. My mama comes out. She said, what's going on? I said, Daddy's drunk again. He passed out. I had to drive us home. She said, oh. So she just says very quietly, she goes in and gets her broom. She opens the door. She starts beating him in the head with a broom. I dare you take my son out and make him drive you home. He's passed out. He don't feel it. Drunks don't feel anything. 3rd grade, Leeton Elementary School. Back to the house you just seen just a moment ago. My mother would come to the back porch there. I would a little the fence over to the right as the playground was, and I'd holler for my mama, Mama. And she'd come to the back porch and she'd talk to me and she'd let me know she was okay. That's all I wanted to do is make sure she was okay. 4th grade, Leeton Elementary School, or middle school rather. Not a whole lot about that. That was the house you seen previous. That was in Sheffield, Alabama on Dover Avenue. My dad caught the house on fire, caught the attic on fire. Something about drunks and fire. I don't know what that is, but they want to see how big they can make the fire. So you see the chimney up there at the top. He wanted to see how much coal he could put on there and how big he could get the flames going outside the chimney, inside the house. And then I'm like, okay, there sure is a whole lot of smoke in here. 3rd grade. I think our house is on fire. So this is where I tell people I learned how to be a fireman. So I let down the ladder. Sure enough, the attic was on fire. I started toting up little buckets of water in 3rd grade, putting it out, and smoldering everywhere, saved the house. He passes out. This is also where he came down. Right here, the sidewalk to the right is the main road, Dover Avenue. He drove an oil company. He would go and deliver oil around different places. He got up in Illinois one night and got drunk and got to gambling, lost a company truck in a gambling game. I'm like, really? I just had this conversation with a guy who drove an oil truck yesterday. I was at the bus garage in Jackson County yesterday. He showed up with oil. I said, let me tell you a story. I said, you driving that oil truck? I said, my daddy. I said, you ever lost that in a gambling game? He said, no. I said, my daddy did. He said, really? I said, yeah. Sure did. His boss had to go get him out of jail, buy his truck back. But then he used to come home and pull up the side of here and he'd blow the big air horn. At 2 o'clock in the morning. Come get me. Whole neighborhood would be calling the police and everything. 4th grade, W.A. Threadgill, Sheffield, Alabama. I'm in 4th grade. Daddy shows up to the playground. I can tell he's drunk. I had to beg the teachers, please don't send me home with him. He's drunk. He's in the car. And I've already driven us home one time drunk. Please don't send me home. Teacher says, no, you're going home with your daddy. He's on the pickup list. That's the thing about school. If you're on the pickup list, you can take him home. It don't matter what. Back then it didn't anyway. I'm like, please don't send me home. He's drunk. How do you know? You've been at school all day. I said, right today, I could stand my daddy out there at 100 yards and I could tell you whether he was drinking or drunk. Just by how he carried himself, how he held his cigarette, how his lips were, I could just tell you. I didn't have to smell it. Didn't even have to know he took a drink. But I could tell him he was drunk. And again, all this is because of the effects of what? Alcohol. And probably some drugs that I didn't know about then. I was 14. I used to play in that dumpster. You ever been dumpster diving? That's a real thing. I invented it. In 1980, in 1984, 85, I invented dumpster diving. I'd go in there, and those people that was behind the doctor's office, and they'd throw away some good stuff. Stuff I could use. Pennies, nickels. I gathered enough money one day, went around the other side of the doctor's office. They had a card, had a little gift shop. It was my mama's birthday, August the 13th. And I wanted to buy her a card. I only had just a little. And I didn't know from years earlier that I didn't have enough money, but that lady took what money I had, and she gave me a card. And I took it to my mom. And we lived just across the road in these apartments. The top right-hand window you see up there, I sat there one Christmas Eve waiting for two important men in my life to come home. One was Santa Claus, and one was my daddy. And guess what? Neither one of them came. I can remember sitting in that window crying and saying, why? Why me? Why did I have to grow up this way? By this time, I'm starting to understand. This time, I'm starting to understand why these things are happening. 5th and 6th grade at Muscle Shoals, Alabama Middle School. Alateen. Anybody ever heard of Alateen? Anybody? Don't be ashamed. Anybody ever heard of Alateen? Maybe not. Oh, you have? Alateen. It's for young people who have parents and whoever. It's a support group. Alateen saved me because I walked into my first meeting that night with young people my age, and I realized there was a whole room full of young people who were experiencing the same thing that I was experiencing. Because for a long time I felt like that I was the only one having to live. And you may feel that way today in your situation. I don't know all your situations, but you may be feeling your situation. Why me? Why did I have to grow up like this? Why am I living like I am? Why am I having to experience what I'm experiencing? Well, number one, I'm 50 now, and I'm glad God chose me to bear that cross because I'm able to share it with you. And I'm able to help change kids' lives because there is a light at the end. Remember that light a while ago? A light at the end of the tunnel? There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Remember that tunnel vision I said you had? There's a light down there somewhere. You just got to find it. That goes for us old ones as well. House 15 doesn't stand anymore. We moved into this house, the rats moved out. That's how bad it was. 7th and 12th grade, my mom says, Matthew's not moving anymore. He's going to finish high school at Carver Heights High School. 7th through 12th grade, we did not move anymore. We did move houses a couple times, but we did not move school districts. I can take you to the very square of tile in that hallway of that school to where a cheerleader. Anybody a cheerleader in here? No? Anybody a football player? Y'all not do anything? Golfers? You might golf. Yeah, my Abigail plays golf. Okay. But I can take you to that very square to where the cheerleader said, Matthew, how are you today? It wasn't the fact that she was pretty. That didn't matter. I'm just glad she acknowledged that I existed. She spoke to me. That's how important it is to kids your age to be spoken to. How many kids do you walk by at school or even here at church and you never say hi? Or you never say, hey, I'm glad you're here. Or, hey, can I eat lunch with you today? Or, hey, can we hang out sometime? Or, hey, look me up on social media. Or, hey, let me be your friend. So I didn't have that. Nobody wanted to be my friend because I was a local drunk. I remember, anybody watching Andy Griffith? My dad was Otis. You know, Otis on there, he was a town drunk. It was oh man, it was tough. We're back to those pictures again. House 16. How many houses have I lived in? 16 houses. Those are the stairs he fell down. That was the closet I hid in. Me and my little cat, Lucky, had a little black cat. His name was Lucky. Me and Lucky would get in there, and I'd take my flashlight, and we would talk, and we would play, and he'd purr. And that was my peace. That's where I would hide and shut the door. I mean, I have stories about Lucky. My dad come home. We always hid the money. Anybody live in a house where you hid money? Yeah, you got your money, baby. Oh, I'd hide mine too. I thought I had mine hid enough one time my senior year of high school when everybody sent me hundreds of dollars for my senior year of high school because they wanted me to have money to help buy a truck. Because at 18, I did not have a truck. I didn't have any way of transportation. I still walk into school at 18. And I go in there one day and all my money's gone. Where'd my money go? I had several $100s in there saved up to help buy a truck. My dad stole it, took it. My senior year, took the money that I had. I had to start, and I'm going to tell you what, there's been times I've been knocked down again, knocked down, knocked down, knocked down, and I never gave up because there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Number one, Jesus Christ was my light. I kept God, and through all of this, I kept God on my side. You see, that's the key. If you're going to be a Barnabas, you got to keep God on your side. If you're a Saul, you got to keep God on your side until that Barnabas shows up to encourage you. But I was telling you about my little Lucky. We hid money. My dad come in, took my cat, put his head in one hand, body in the other, and said, if you don't tell me where the money's at, I'm going to pull Lucky's head off. I was in mental abuse, physical abuse. Is there any other abuses? I was in it if it was. But that's what it appears to me. House 17 and 18. The reason I call it a full circle is we're back to where we began and where we went. When I told you there was a trailer, one burned and all that, we're back to house 17 and 18 again because just to the back left before I married my good wife, my mother had never lived in a new home. I was working, had a good job, making good money. I had decided at the age of 16 that I'm going to break the cycle, that I'm not, because I'm going to tell you, my grandfather was an alcoholic, his daddy was an alcoholic, all of my uncles on the Scoggins side were alcoholics. They all been to jail. They used to go to get in jail so that the others could come and break them out, could whoop the police and bring them out. That's how bad they were. I don't want to know how many people they killed, to be honest with you. Because the Scoggins name, a lot of people here in Tennessee, they say, well, Scoggins, he's a preacher, and he's a school teacher, he's a ball coach, he goes to camp every year, he does this, he does that, he's doing gospel meetings. they know nothing about this most of the time. But see, my name used to be Matthew Hall Scoggins. No S. But it was so important to me to break the cycle and become something that I had never seen in my father or my family, that I wanted to be so different that I added an S. Now, I know that seems minute to you, but it's big to me, because I didn't want to be a Scoggins. That was the cards that was dealt to me. But I wanted to be a Scoggins. I wanted to change it. I wanted to be different. I didn't want to go to, I didn't want to be known as an alcoholic or a drunk or a jail or whatever the case may be. I didn't want it, so I had to make a decision. Am I going to change it? Am I going to break the cycle? Or am I going to continue the cycle? Now again, I don't know your situations. You may have to be needing to break the cycle yourself. I don't know. But somebody somewhere has got to break the cycle. That's what I tell my kids. My daughter was going to sing the national anthem in, what was it, 3rd grade, 4th grade? Somewhere around there, I don't know, little bitty. She was sweating, boy, she was crying. I mean, we're talking about like a minute before she's supposed to sing. I'm like, I seen her from a distance. I went to her. I said, what's wrong with you? You got to sing. You can't be crying. I can't do this, Daddy. I can't do that. I said, yes, you can, because you're a Scoggins. She always tells that story, because Scoggins overcome. My son, several years ago, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Our family, he said, I can't do this. I said, yes, you can, because you're a Scoggins. My daughter plays golf in tournaments in Crossville and plays some 10th graders, and she's going into 8th grade, and I'm going to brag a little bit, she smokes them. She smokes them about 10 shots every game. Them 10th graders in high school, they can't handle that. They're like, oh, you're in the 7th grade and you're beating me? I'm bragging a little bit now, but anyway, she smokes them. I can't do this, Daddy. I'm going to a new court. Yes, you can, because you're a Scoggins. You see, a name means, young people look at me, a name means a whole lot. It takes years to build it. You know what I had to come from? I went to a bank one time and said, I want to borrow money when I was 18. The man says, no, your daddy borrowed money here 10 years, 15 years ago, never paid it back, and we can't get it. I said, let me tell you something. I said, I am Matthew Hall Scoggins, not Silas Hall. I went to another bank, had to get 2 co-signers. All I was borrowing was $1,500. The payment was $52.50 a month. And they told me, said, my granddaddy told me, he said, you make sure that $52.50 is paid every month, and he said, and you save up a little bit to make an extra payment in 3 months. He said, and you build your name. That's what it is. Don't you ever take a drink of alcohol. I was getting a double standard. My daddy would hold a cigarette in one hand and a beer in the other and said, don't you ever smoke. Don't you ever drink. And I'm sitting here going, really? You got a cigarette in one hand, a beer in the other one? How can you do that? How can you tell me that? So again, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. 18 places I called home, 8 schools between kindergarten through 12th grade. Anybody know who that is? Any football fans? Ole Miss? No? You know who it is, Glenn? Yeah. You know who it is. That's Chucky Mullins. Anybody ever heard of Chucky Mullins? Chucky Mullins and I were great friends. He played at Russellville High School, Golden Tigers in Franklin County, Alabama. 5A school, young college, basically. Chucky was a good guy. Chucky comes from the same situation I was, and I'm going to tell you what, it was untold for a white boy and a black guy to even be a friend, really, in those days. I got other friends, too. Glenn likes to hear my stories about Abraham, my stories about Abraham. I got another best friend. His name was Aby. We called him Aby. His real name was Abraham. But this is Chucky. I played football with Chucky. Chucky got killed. Chucky broke his neck playing Vanderbilt. Was paralyzed for years. But he always had a smile on his face. We always kidded him about his little ears. But Chucky was one of the most hardest hitting defensive backs that you've ever seen play the game of football. And he broke his neck. He was born July the 8th, 1969. I was born March. I was a little older than he was. We shared the same year of birthday. He died May 6, 1991, after a struggle of being paralyzed from the neck down from a defensive hit on a Vanderbilt receiver. Chucky said he'd never quit. I learned a lot from Chucky. Chucky got a job one time at a gas station there locally at home, and the owner told him, says, go and clean the bathroom. Chucky went and cleaned the bathroom. After an hour or so, Chucky had not come out of the bathroom, and the owner went around there to check on Chucky, and he said, what are you doing? He was up there with a toothbrush cleaning the sprinkler system on the fire sprinklers. He said, you've done a great job. Why didn't you quit? He said, nobody ever told me to quit. He said, that's what you got to have in life. In Christianity, ain't nobody going to tell you to quit. Keep living for the Lord. If you have struggles in your own life, I don't care what your family history is like. If you have those struggles, if you're living in those things, never quit. Chucky come down on the third round of state playoffs. He come down when they lost the game, and he come downtown and we was hanging out, and boy, he was just whistling and jumping, having a good time. I said, Chucky, how can you be so happy? You just lost the third round, the semifinals of the state playoffs. And I said, you're not going to go any further. He said, he said, when you leave it all on the field, and he said, when you do that, you got no regrets. That was his life story. He was the same. He and I grew up the same way. Actually, his Little League basketball coach took him in and raised him. So he and I shared a lot of stuff. But he said never quit. That statue sits outside of the locker room at Ole Miss Rebels Stadium. And every time that they go out, he was a defensive back. Alabama would not recruit him. Ole Miss took him on, and he went and played and became a defensive back. They still now, when you watch Ole Miss Rebels play on college football coming up in September and this, that, and other, if you will find on that team the number 38, they give that jersey every year to a kid who exhibits the qualities of Chucky Mullins in his honor, but never quit. So, today, are you a Barnabas or are you a Saul? I was a person who needed I needed a Saul. I needed a Barnabas. And I had a lot of Barnabases in my life. Gospel preachers, my granddaddy, my mama, and my daddy sometimes. Sometimes my daddy, believe it or not. He was an encourager. He taught me everything not to do, if that's feasible. When I had children, I promised myself at an early age I was going to break the cycle. I was going to be different. I was going to be different from my daddy. My children would not experience not anything that I lived as a kid. Not that it was bad because it made me who I am. But who wants that for their children? We want what? The best. So I've done everything opposite of what my dad did to be a good dad to them. I took them fishing. And when I took them fishing or I took them hunting or I went to a sport, I wasn't drunk. I didn't go to church drunk. Everybody, daddy go to church drunk. I'm trying to be facetious now, but yeah, I did. My dad went to church drunk. I mean, that's just tell you how bad it was. And it's not funny. Because again, my daddy's 72 years old right now. I just put him in the Mabry nursing home. 2 months ago, he OD'd at 72 years old. Stayed in the Cookville Regional Hospital for over 2.5 weeks trying to get himself back. It used to be alcohol, now it's prescription drugs, cocaine, meth. I don't know what all was found in his system. But you know what? I went to him. I said, Daddy, I love you. And the first time, that was only the first time a month ago, 3 weeks later he ODs again. Found in a back alley. in his underclothes. I go to him again. I said, Daddy, something's got to change. I said, you need the Lord. I said, and I'm going to tell you somebody who knows anything about Scripture, it's him. He could tell you anything you want to know about the Bible. And that's the fun. That's the odd part to me. Because first time he'd ever get in jail, first thing he'd want was his Bible. Send me my Bible. But he had that addiction. And addictions are real, young people. You know what happens with an addiction when you take a drug or you take an alcohol for the first time? Now, you listen closely. When you put anything in your body other than food and things that are good for you, that one time, I don't care what it is, cocaine, alcohol, prescription drug, meth or marijuana or whatever, your body experiences the highest high that it will ever achieve. And you know where the addiction part comes? Is you try to keep trying to achieve it. And you never will feel that high again. That's the addiction part. So if another thing is, if you never put it in there the first time, what? You never have to worry about trying to achieve it. Now let me go back to you real quickly, and we're going to close out just in a minute. Remember me telling you about the young man at the very beginning that sat on the edge of his bed and cocked a gun and put it in his mouth and said, "No, you know who that was?" Anybody want to take a guess? Shouldn't be hard by this point. That was me. 12-gauge shotgun, loaded with buckshot. Sitting at the end on the side of the bed, in my mouth, and I had no reason to wake up. And I'm going to tell you what, all our older people and everything else, mental health issues are real. They're real. Depression is real. Because I'm going to tell you what, if you've never come to that part, if you've never come to that point in your life, it's a dark, dark, empty place. Because I've been there. Dark. Because when you can sit down on the edge of your bed and say, I have no reason to wake up tomorrow. I'm writing a book. Me, I'm writing a book. It's funny when I think about it. But I'm writing down all this into a book, and the whole entitled thing is No Reason to Wake Up. And I hope to put it together one day before I die. I don't know. Maybe somebody will read it. Maybe they won't. I don't know. But it's a dark place. Very, very dark. I thank the Lord every day at 50 that I did not take my life. Why? Because there was a light at the end of the tunnel. There was a glimmer. You know what that glimmer was? Is my mama come down the hallway in a wheelchair. She said, Matthew, took it out of my mouth, uncocked it, slid it under the bed. She said, what are you doing? Nothing, Mama. I honestly believe God sent her down that aisle. I get teary-eyed. But if it had not been for that, I wouldn't be here today. Mental issues are real. Depression is real. It's real. And it's real in you. But God was the number one. God pulled me through it. God was with me in that ditch. God was with me in that bedroom. He's been with me through a lot of stuff. And when you see me preaching, or when you see me coaching, or when you see me doing gospel meetings, most people don't know this. And I heal a little bit every time I tell this story, every time I share this. And I love opportunities like this because I get to heal. I get to heal. But the good thing, and one more on a positive note, it's never too late to come back to Christ. Never too late. Never too late. I restored my dad. And that was the happiest day. 3 weeks ago. So it's kind of fresh. That's why I'm kind of teary-eyed right now. But I restored him because there was a light at the end of the tunnel for him and for me. Because at 50, I still look back on those things. So what can we pull from this today? You're either a Barnabas or you're a Saul. You're either encouraging someone, or you need to start encouraging someone, or you're the one who needs to be encouraged. You people need to look around and find somebody to encourage. Even at 50, I still need to be encouraged. I still struggle. When my wife and I married, man, I brought so much stuff to the table. I brought all kind of insecurities and didn't trust her. Even I was marrying her, didn't trust her. Why? For the very thought that everything in my life was not permanent. It was there for a little bit and gone, a little bit and gone, a little bit and gone. So I figured like, oh, she's going to marry. She told me she loved me, so she's going to be gone. But I had to work through that. I had to work through it. So we're going to extend the invitation. Maybe you hadn't been the Barnabas you need to be. But I want to do one thing before we close out. You see this old mirror? About 2 months ago, I had to go clean my dad's apartment out because his health had gotten to a point that we had to start looking for long-term care in a nursing facility or whatever. So I had to go and clean his apartment out and get things situated and pay the last rent and all this good stuff. And you may know what an inheritance is, right? What do you hope to inherit from your parents? Anybody? What do you hope to inherit? Come on, be honest. You want the money, right? Come on, be real. You want their money? They got land. And talking about land too, I got to find out who owns some land up here. I need somewhere to rabbit hunt. You want that? Most people get money. Most people get land. Most people get possessions. This, that, and other. My inheritance about 2 months ago fit in the back of my pickup truck. No life insurances, no land, no house, no nothing. And that's okay. That's okay. What Joseph, I come in this world with nothing, I'll leave with it, right? Is that what the old saying is? Everything I've got, I always had to fight and scrap for. So I have no inheritance. It all fit in my, and I got a king cab truck, so you know how small the bed was. But everything that he had fit in the back of my truck. And the one thing I wanted to salvage was this. He had it hanging on the wall, and he used it to dress himself, and this, that, and other. And after I threw away the crack pipes and went through all that, come down to this. And actually, I was like, where'd this come from? So I talked to him. My mother, when her father died, that's back when big screen TVs were just coming out, and they were like big as dinosaurs. Okay, so we still had that. So I took it to him a year or so ago, and it went out, would not work. So he tore it apart, and he took out this. This is actually inside of the TV that my mother bought with her inheritance money. And he had it hanging on the wall to dress himself with as a mirror, as a decoration. I mean, you still see the screws in the back right there. As it set at the bottom. Back then, there were reflection. They shone down, they reflected up on the screens. That's why that was inside the TV. But that mirror was my inheritance, part of it. I do have clothes. I do have a wash machine. But the point I want to make is a while ago on that one line, I want you to get your phones out. Everybody here who has a phone, I want you to get it out. When you are one light, you remember that image? It was very weak, just one light. And when you're one light by yourself, it's hard. You don't have those Barnabases around. And it doesn't make a really big difference. It really doesn't make a big change in this dark auditorium. I'll go, one light really didn't help a lot. But when you put a whole lot of lights together, I want you to notice the change. You kill the lights. Now I want you to turn your phones on. Put your flashlights on. Oh, here they come. One at a time. One at a time. Can you see it? Okay, y'all still out there, right? Can y'all see the change? Can you? Yeah. You see, when you just have one light, you couldn't hardly see it. It didn't make a big difference. But when you have a bunch of lights, it creates a bigger reflection. Look at what it's putting up on the ceiling. I can shine that light. See that light up there? Shine it way back there to the darkness, back to Mr. Ben. Not that way we want to see what he looks like, but we can shine in a lot of places. And see, when you're that light, you're that Barnabas, you're that encourager, it makes the influence of light a whole lot. Jesus Christ is a light. He's the light of the world. He that comes to Him and accepts Him, obeys His will become a Christian. And we have to keep being those lights. We have to keep encouraging through this dark, dark world. Because when you're in that darkness and it's so dark that you don't have a reason to wake up, you've got to find that light. And it's a lot easier to find it in good people than it is in the people of the world. Surround yourself with good friends. Surround yourself with God. Surround yourself with Christ. And things will be better. And you can endure whatever the Lord sends to you. You can turn the lights back on now, Ben. So, the question is, are you Barnabas or are you Saul? Do you need to be an encourager or do you need encouraging? You know, this front bench, sometimes we think about, we get ashamed of coming to this front bench and saying, oh, they think I'm terrible. That's not what it's all about. Sometimes I think we've misspoke that. It's a place of refuge in Christ. It's a place of comfort and light in Christ. So today I ask you, do you need to find Christ? Do you need to be put Him on in baptism? I don't know who here is not a Christian. Maybe you need to become a Christian. Maybe you need to become a better encourager. Maybe you need to get out of that Saul mentality and come to the Lord and live for Him and be what you need to be and be stronger and find that person in your school when you go back to school in a few days and that has no friends who needs their books picked up. You just might save their life. Suicide is real. Mental health is real. So today, whatever your need may be, we're going to stand and we're going to sing a song. Think about that. Maybe you just need encouragement. Maybe you just need prayers. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes life knocks you down. It's hard. I prayed a whole lot. Believe it or not, I prayed a whole lot. and I believe it worked. I'm praying for Christian mates for my children because my Christian mate made a difference. That's what you want. So this morning, whatever your need is, please come as together we stand and as we sing.